Okay, so instead of special right triangles, we're going to talk about right triangle trig. Let's say if it's not a 45, 45, 90 or 30, 60, 90, how can we handle it? That's SOHCAHTOA. Remember, we also wrote it like this to make our lives a little bit easier, setting up those relationships. Right, sine, cosine, tangent. These are relationships we want, so if we're looking at some angle theta, opposite is across, adjacent is right next to, and hypotenuse is always a 90 degree. If you're a procedural person, here's a step-by-step. Feel free to pause the video and look at this as you start your homework. I'm going to jump right into the examples. We're going to do 2 of finding a missing side and 2 of finding a missing angle. In addition, I'm going to be using this calculator, the ones we gave out in class. If you do not have that calculator at home, you can use, don't forget, Web 2.0 calculator online. All right, just Google that and you'll find that calculator. And if you have questions, we can email that to you, the link. But again, I'll be using this calculator here. So if you look at the first example here, I have an angle of 46. If I look across from the 46, I have an 8, which I will call opposite. And then the x is going to represent hypotenuse. So I'm going to look at my relationships up here. This is the one that represents opposite over hypotenuse, and I have this sine theta. Well, I know the angle measure, right? It's going to be sine of 46, and that's going to be equal to my opposite, which is 8 over x. If I want to solve this for x, you're going to notice that x is in the denominator. I need to get rid of that. So I'm going to multiply by x on both sides. So I have x times sine of 46 is equal to 8. And then to solve this for x, I'm going to divide by sine. And this is what I'm going to put into the calculator. Let's round to the nearest tenth just to have some grounds here. So I'm going to do 8 divided by sine of 46. And I'm going to get 11.1. So x is equal to 11.1. Now let's see this set up again, just to try a different trig function and maybe different operations. We have our angle here, 23. We have opposite, and we have adjacent. So if I look at my trig functions now, opposite and adjacent means I'm going to use tan function. So based off of that, I'm going to have tan of 23 is equal to x over 6. For this example, the x is already in the numerator, so it only requires one operation as opposed to 2 over here, meaning I just need to multiply by 6 on both sides. And this is what I'm going to put in the calculator now. And again, let's round to the 10th. Let me move this over so you can see it. I'm going to do 6 times tan of 23. And in that example, it looks like I get 2.5 as my answer. So this is what you're going to do when you find missing sides, right? We set up the trig function with either opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, and opposite over adjacent, and solve using some form of inverse operations. What works different is when we work on angles, right? We have to pay attention to using the inverse trig functions, right? We're going to be missing the angle now. This is what's going to be missing in my picture. And I'll have either opposite, I'll have adjacent, I'll have hypotenuse. I can set up some relationship. So let's look at 2 examples of this and use inverse trig to solve. Remember, inverse trig, I'll show you where it looks on the calculator, but again, use Web 2.0. It'll be on there as well as the sine to the -1, cosine -1, tangent -1. You might even see this as like a sine, a cosine, a tangent if you use Web 2.0. All right, just pay attention to that. It means the same thing. So let's look at 2 examples. If you notice here, I'm missing the angle x. I have opposite and I have adjacent. So for this example, I'm using tangent, but I have tan x is equal to 4 over 12. There's no need to simplify the fraction because this is going in the calculator anyway. If I'm missing the angle, what I'm really going to do is kind of going back up here and you can see it. I'm going to do the tan inverse to find that angle measure. So x is going to be equal to tan inverse 4 over 12. And now let's see it put into the calculator. You're going to notice here, this is the tan button, but right above it is the tan inverse. So to get to that value, I'm going to hit second and then hit tan and put 4 over 12 inside. And this is going to give me the angle measure of 18.4, as you can see here. So x is equal to 18.4 degrees. That is going to be the angle measure that we just found. Again, you're going to notice that we're missing an angle measure, theta, and I have opposite and adjacent. So one more time, it looks like I'm going to do opposite and adjacent, which looks like it's going to be tangent. So tangent, remember theta is just a Greek symbol for angle measure. Just use this or x fluently, it's whatever you want to do. But then the relationship is 5 over 8 if I want to set this up. Again, I'm missing this piece of information. I don't know what that is. So to solve that, I need to use the inverse trig function. So the inverse, to find theta, is 5 over 8. I'm going to again plug this in the calculator. I'm going to hit the second button first, then tangent, and then do 5 over 8. Which gives me 32, just 32. So theta is equal to 32 degrees. Again, if you don't have this calculator in particular, you can do Web 2.0, right? Just Google that. There'll be a calculator. Don't use a Google calculator because you're going to mess up with degrees and radians. We've already had problems with that in class. Don't forget to, on your worksheet, to scroll to the bottom for the answer key and email us if you have any questions or concerns.